So my name's Susan.
Nice to meet you, Susan.
How are you doing today?
Good.
Before we begin, I want you to go ahead and read over this confidentiality agreement, and it just basically says that everything we talk about today is going to stay between you and I. The only time that I have to report it to anybody, which would be my supervisors, is if there's child abuse, elder abuse, anyone with disabilities that's being abused, or you're going to commit self-harm or harm to someone else. So if you could go ahead and sign that for me.
Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. Do you have any questions about it while you're going over it?
No, it seems self-explanatory.
Okay.
Thank you. There you go.
Thank you. Now that is taken care of, why don't you tell me what brings you in today?
So recently I was in my hometown and we had this really bad earthquake, and I completely lost my whole house. Like my whole town got really destroyed by the earthquake, so I have nothing right now, and my husband also passed during the earthquake.
I'm so sorry to hear that. I can't imagine what that feels like for you.
Yeah, it was really tough. The earthquake happened at like 4 in the morning, and it was really rough because we had to like act fast, and everything just happened so quickly.
How long ago did that happen?
It happened about 4 weeks.
4 weeks ago?
Yes.
Wow. Was it just you and your husband? Do you have any children or anything like that?
We have 2 kids.
2 children.
Yes.
How old are they?
One is 10 and the other one is 8.
10 and 8.
Mm-hmm.
Girls?
They're both girls, yes.
Okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
How are they doing with the news of their dad?
They are still a little bit confused, but I try to explain it in the best way possible, but they're still kind of confused, and like I said, I try to explain it to them without, being so straight up and saying, hey, your dad's dead, but they're really just confused on where their father is.
Were they home when it happened?
Yes, we were all home, and like I said, everything happened so quickly. They were really shooken up by everything that was happening, that they weren't like aware of all their surroundings or what was happening. So
so who are you staying with right now?
Oh, well, I'm currently staying with some friends, but it's not permanent. They're just letting me stay there with my daughters until I can find something to live, because like right now I don't have a job either. So until like I can find a job and move out is when they're letting me stay with them.
So as far as coming for our services here, would alternate housing be something that you're interested in? Some type of either short-term agreement or possibly like financial assistance to help you get a place started? Is that something that you're interested in?
Yes, definitely, because I really don't want to be a bother to my friends, because it is their home and I don't want to invade their privacy. I do have 2 daughters, and it could be difficult to be in someone else's house, and especially with my 2 little girls being in an unfamiliar place with a hard situation that just happened. So I definitely want to find something else so I can lift that burden off of my friend's shoulder.
Mm-hmm. How are you handling everything emotionally?
It's very hard, one, to see the person I love be gone forever, and to see my city and everything that happened in my home, where my kids grew up or were growing up, and the good and bad moments, my house and all the memories that were in there, I completely lose everything is very heartbreaking to me, and I felt very sad, but I try to be as strong as I can for my daughters. So
I think that's really wonderful that you're trying to stay optimistic, and that's a really good resiliency to have, especially having young girls and having them go through such a traumatic thing so young. But it is important to take care of yourself, so try to make sure that you're having some alone time, so that way you can process things. And would you be interested in any type of like counseling, whether it's family counseling so your children can get the emotions out and talk about it, or even if it's just yourself, so that way you can come and vent? I can't imagine how stressed out you must be, or angry even.
Yeah, I feel like it would definitely be really, really helpful for my daughters to get like some type of counseling, and especially myself, like you said, it is really hard to play that strong role and be tough and like act like nothing's like I have everything under control, which I don't for my daughters, so they don't feel the stress that I feel because I want to make this transition and like everything we're going through be a lot easier because they are young and I don't want them to be stressed and have something to worry about. I'm just really glad that my friends are very helpful and I'm still able to keep them in school and stuff like that. So I do have a little bit of alone time, but I try to help around my friend's house. So I would definitely enjoy counseling so I could talk to someone.
Yeah, I can definitely get you a referral out to someone, and also we have specialists at this agency that are for children specifically, um, that could help them process and maybe try to understand a little bit more of what's actually going on and how things are going to be different.
Great.
As far as medical history, I do apologize. Like, there's going to be a lot of questions that we're asking today, and it's basically just so that way I can try to help you in any way that I can. And since this is such a serious, immediate thing that's going on, like, I want to be able to get you the referrals and resources that you need to get back to normal as normal as it could potentially be for you. So, with that being said, is there any medical issues that need to be addressed, whether it's immediate needs or since this is a new area for you, a new primary care physician, anything like that, any specialist, any medical care that your children or you need?
My oldest daughter actually has asthma,
Okay.
and while everything that we lost in the earthquake, her inhaler was also in there, so we've been trying to like find something, like you said, it's kind of hard with me not having, my insurance or all that other stuff, so providing that for my daughter has been a little bit difficult since we did lose that in the earthquake.
Okay. So we do have the ability to help with short-term insurance, financially, things like that, especially for immediate needs. So I will go ahead before you leave today and write you a referral for that if that's something that you definitely need. So she's gone 4 weeks without her inhaler.
It's been very tough. My friends have been trying to help me, but I don't have money, and it's kind of hard to provide that for my daughter. And it's already enough that my friends are letting me stay there. I wouldn't want to ask for money.
Yeah. How severe is her asthma? Has she had any asthma attacks recently where you've had to take her to the emergency room or anything like that?
Thankfully, she hasn't had an asthma attack, but she has pretty severe asthma. But thankfully, since like I said, they're still kind of confused on what's going on. She hasn't been like reacting too bad. Like she hasn't had any attacks, so I'm really appreciative about that because she's been very, very taking the stuff well, basically. So I appreciate and God's watching over me because my daughter hasn't had any medical needs like real bad, but definitely we need to get that as soon as possible.
Is that the only medical condition that any of you have that's severe that would be an immediate issue?
Yes, only that. I feel like that's the main thing.
Okay.
After the earthquake, we kind of did get checked up by like medics that were on the spot, so everything was fine except that. So yeah, that's the only like thing I have to worry about as concerning my children and myself also.
Okay. And you had mentioned that you're having some struggles financially. So we do offer short term. It's about 6 months usually financial assistance for people that have gone through severe disasters like this and they're having to rebuild their entire lives. So I'll go ahead and set you up with those resources as well. Um, as far as you said that you don't have a job currently because you did just move to this area, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So do you have any type of education or certificates or anything like that that would help you find a job easier?
Unfortunately, in the earthquake, my certificates or anything that I have got lost, but I do have a bachelor's in elementary education.
Okay, that's amazing. Have you taught before with the degree?
I was currently like getting into my new job, and then everything just happened, and
Wow.
you know, I had to move away because I didn't have people around me, like family. My husband's family lives far, and so does my family. So the closest people I had were my friends.
Okay. Well, luckily, it should be pretty easy to get a hold of your alma mater that you went to be able to get those certificates, so that way you could potentially start teaching. And we do have someone here in our facility that helps with resume writing, if that's something that you'd be interested in, and potentially being able to help you find a new position, whether it's here or somewhere close by. We can definitely help you with that. That's part of our program, when it comes to like this disaster relief things and getting people as close to normal as they could potentially be. And since the financial assistance is so short term, being only 6 months, we do try to get the families or whoever it is that comes in for assistance a job as quickly as possible, so that way they do have some sort of income and they can start saving and get back on their own 2 feet. Sometimes it can be difficult for people to accept help for too long, and I do want to say that there's nothing wrong with asking for help, and we are so happy to be able to help families get back on their feet when this kind of thing happens, because it's so difficult to go through anything like this. I can't even imagine what you're going through. Are you interested in relocating to an area that's closer to where you are originally from, or are you interested in staying in this area and trying to find work and employment here?
I actually was gonna ask you about how your facility works as far as like somewhere closer. Like my in-laws and my family, like my parents, they live around the same area. You know, my husband and I were from the same hometown, so I was definitely thinking about moving back up there to have, you know, familiar faces so my children can be like feel more at home, and they could go through this process a lot easier. So I just wanted to ask if you guys had anything near like my area, or if you could try to find information about that so I could probably relocate there and, you know, have the financial help and like the employment help to try to find me a job. So is that possible? Do you think you could give me information, or
What is that town called? How far away from here is it?
it's about 4 hours away. I actually live in this really small town, so it's just like 4 hours away from me.
Okay, but it's still in Tennessee?
Yeah.
Okay, that's awesome. So luckily we are statewide. There are not facilities like this throughout the state, but we do have resources available throughout the entire state. So as long as it's in Tennessee, we can definitely try to help you relocate and become connected with local resources as far as counseling and PCPs, primary care physicians go. So that is definitely something that we're able to do. It will take me a little bit of time to get that together, but I can definitely have it for you next week if you can come by for another appointment. Just a follow up, find out how everything's going with the kids, make sure that your daughter got her inhaler, everything like that. If I had to just look at these papers really fast and see if there's anything that I'm forgetting to ask you. As far as support systems go, you did say that your in-laws and your family as well lives close by to where you're wanting to relocate. Am I hearing, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Are you and the girls in contact with them regularly?
yes, we do talk regularly. You know, after everything that happened, you know, we had arrangements for my husband's funeral, and I unfortunately didn't want my daughters there because, you know, that would be very impacting, like right after this awful experience. So ever since that, you know, it's been hard on my in-laws also, and they've been calling my daughters every day just to check up on them and like make conversations. So
That's really sweet.
Yeah.
I just want to say that I think that you're handling all of this extremely well, and like I said, I have no idea how you're feeling. I've never been in that situation, but from my perspective, you're strong and smart, and you're doing a fantastic job. And don't. I hope that you feel good about, not good, but
I feel like I kind of understand what you're saying.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel, it's been very, very hard, but I've always been taught to, like, even though rough things happen, they happen for a reason, and, maybe this was a chance to start over. That's just how my parents taught me that things happen for a reason, and you gotta be strong throughout everything, because, God has his purposes, so that's why I try to be strong, because although I might not know what the reasonings are now, maybe in the future I'll know. So I definitely understand what you're saying. I'm trying to be strong, but like you said, it's a very, very hard situation to go through, natural disaster, and then having to like start from zero, and especially having children. So I do appreciate your words to me. That makes me feel a lot, relieved that someone cares. So I appreciate that.
I'm glad that I can be that for you. You've mentioned God quite a few times, which is great that you have that faith. And is there a church that you've been going to locally here?
It's not locally, but I was going in my hometown. But yeah, I am. I did have a church group. Unfortunately, that through the earthquake, the church also they didn't lose everything, but they did face a little bit of damages. I'm probably gonna have to find a new church once I move back up to where my parents live, where my in-laws live, because right after I got married, I moved away from that town, so it's probably gonna take me a little time to find a new church and stuff.
No, you have to try to make sure that it's a good fit. Also, not only for you but for them, just so everyone's comfortable and you feel at home there.
Mm-hmm.
That's very important.
Yeah.
We do have a chaplain that is available. I know you had mentioned you would be interested in counseling, and since you are religious, that is available to you as well. If you wanted to make an appointment with a chaplain, he could just maybe try to make you feel even more at ease, and he could come to your friend's house where you're staying and maybe talk to your girls and have a small worship ceremony. I'm sure that would be something that could be arranged if you're interested in that.
That would be very, very helpful. With the time that I've faced this horrible experience, and the time that's been, it's been 4 weeks, and I've been trying to focus like on getting my daughters in school, and trying to get stuff for them, and just trying to help my friends out as much as I can. I haven't had much time, so to get some personal time with God, and I would really appreciate that, because my daughters are very involved in they were very involved in church, so that would be great. I'm definitely interested in doing that.
Yeah, we can definitely set that up for you. And I'll give you his card, and you can go ahead and call and make an appointment. Going back to how we talked about self-care and things like that, since this has been such a traumatic situation for not only you but for the children, like, what are you personally doing to help cope with it? I know it's got to be crowded in the house with your friends and the children, but is there anything that you've been doing that you think is helping you deal and just go day to day?
Well, whenever I was, when my husband was still alive, whenever we had stressful situations, we just always, call our parents. That was kind of our way of like forgetting everything. Just talking to our parents and asking him that, like, I feel like my way to relieve my stress is to, like, see how the people that are close to me, like, my support system, see how they're doing, and just hearing how they're doing kind of lifts my spirits. And also I just spend time with my daughters, although that a whole thing could be happening, my daughters do bring peace to me, and like I said, I try not to mention too much because they are young. I just spend time with them, and that's a really big stress reliever. They're very good girls. They listen to me, so they never really give me trouble. So whenever we go out, we just enjoy our times, and I kind of forget everything. So.
Since since that is, a relaxing and just kind of refreshing thing for you to do is do things with the girls, we do have weekly activities here at the facility where families that are getting services are able to come and relax, and it's usually like a picnic or like yard games, things like that, like just little things to help the families kind of decompress and relax a little bit. So I will go ahead and get you a calendar for that if that's something that you'd like to do. And it's something that's completely free to the families. We provide that um, basically to just kind of brighten the days of the families. We know that you guys are going through such difficult times, and like I said before, we just want to do anything we can to kind of make things as easy as possible for you in such a difficult time.
Yeah.
As far as the trauma and things like that, have you been struggling with any types of anxiety or depression or any type of, you know, negative feelings like that?
Now that you mention that, after the earthquake happened, I kind of would be like in the living room, and as cars go by, it kind of gets shaky, and that's when I start like worrying and like freaking out, and I start getting like anxiety attacks, and it just reminds me of that night of how everything felt, and I start to get worried, and I just try to like get my daughters and like hug them, and I just remind myself it's just a car, it's what is happening, but negative feelings isn't too much. It's just like the depression of losing my husband and losing everything I ever worked for. Just that, the thought of it is very, very like it's not that it haunts me. It's just there in my head. Like I think about how I worked so much for something to have lost it all in the matter of minutes. So that's very depressing to me, and it's put me in a place where I just don't even want to do anything. But like you mentioned, you don't know how strong I've been, but I seem to like just use my daughters as motivations to do my day to day things because I do it for them. They need me, so I'm trying to fight through that depression and anxiety attacks that I because sounds just trigger it, and it's very, very hard to deal with throughout the day.
When you say anxiety attack, can you elaborate on that a little bit more and tell me how does it feel to you?
Well, as soon as I hear the sounds, my hands get really sweaty, and I feel numb. Like my body gets really numb, and I feel like I'm just panicking. Like I have no control of what on my surroundings. So my heart starts like racing, and then I just I feel like I can't function. So that's how I feel like when I'm having my anxiety attacks. It's just that I overall I feel like I have no control of what's going on in my surroundings.
And how often have you been having these attacks since the incident happened?
Well, since this incident has happened, I feel like I've had it like twice, maybe 3 times a week.
Okay. Have you had any today?
Today, no, not much. Like I don't think I've had any today. Like I said, I feel nervous sometimes, but no, I haven't had any anxiety attacks today.
I noticed that you're fidgeting a lot in your chair. Are you uncomfortable right now, or are you feeling anxious? Tell me how you're feeling.
I feel like, like I said, I really don't like talking about the situation. But I guess it's just the whole situation and remembering everything that happened, and realizing how much that like in desperate need I am to get my life back together, and starting all over. I guess that's what's like kind of making me anxious, and like it's an eye opener to see how much need I am. So
I do want to commend you for coming in because even that is a big step. To ask for help is not easy, and you did take that first step, and I do hope that you see that it takes a very strong person to do that. So I definitely commend you on that. As far as talking about, what happened. I'm sorry that, these type of questions are difficult to answer, and that it makes you kind of relive things in your head. But every question that you answer helps me to know what resources that you're eligible for, that I could connect you with, and it really, it's all to benefit you, and anything I can do to help with this situation, everything that you tell me is just strictly for that. So just bear with me a little bit longer. We don't have too much longer to answer questions and things, and then we can take a break, and you can kind of try to clear your head a little bit. And if anything becomes too much, just go ahead and just tell me to stop, and we can take a few minutes. Like, I don't mind at all.
No,